Eric, Jenna, feel free to jump in at any time, ask those questions, make sure that we're getting the support that you need and making sure that we can be successful for you guys in 2026 as well. Good.
I'll kick it off on a positive right quick. So I had one of my safety pros who was attending that end of the third day. She sent me a text and she said, "Wow, that was really good." I'm like, "Okay, yeah. So what are you going to do with it moving forward?"
Yeah.
And she says, "I need to get more involved with that community." I said, "Absolutely." I said, "Not just for the information that's out there, but also the safe place for safety pros, right?"
Yeah.
And so she'll be diving in a little bit more, hopefully, in the future.
Perfect.
So
I think for me,
yeah, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I'll jump in after you.
So I have a quick question. I know that a lot of the other sessions that I've done over the years, like at our Ohio Congress, when we put a call for presentation and they're looking for, is it a basic safety professional or is it something more advanced? So I'd like to know, I put in a couple call for presentations at a couple other events, and sometimes they're advanced. So you don't want to, if you do an advanced one, like more specialized, I don't think you're going to get the people. That's what I'm wondering. Do you feel that, what kind of audience do you think we've had? Do you think we have more advanced? Do you think we've got more, basic? So just moving forward to put in a call for presentation in the future.
Sure. I mean, my perspective is that we do have a decent mix. I think Scott and I were having a conversation today around 3M's presentation from the product showcase day. Theirs was pretty specific welding. It's certainly not in everybody's wheelhouse, but the
Right.
people that get it, they get it, right? We spoke to 3M today about how the people that are in welding, they were really nerding out about it. They were fanatics of the technology that is becoming more and more prevalent and sophisticated in welding. So I think you're right. Obviously, when you go more specific, more niche, you are going to lose some people because it's not for them. But I hope we're a little more open-minded to participate in those conversations, because I learned some really interesting things about the shields and what the technology has done so far. So again, not that I'm ever going to personally need it, but I do hope that we are exactly right. So yeah, I mean, I think we have a good mix of both, but everybody's perspective is welcome on that as well.
Okay.
Well, I think my personally, coming from a consultant standpoint, is I liked how diverse and how at times niche some of the areas were. That gave me a little bit more from my wheelhouse to go back and say, hey, yeah, 3M's developing this, or Contour has these things, or Airgas is doing this, because I have that information that's coming from not just conferences, but these interactions as well. And, as someone that did the presentation for the Ergo Moment, I was able to see the engagement day after day be completely different and offer different things for different people. Because I know, like, the way that we did it was through gamification, the evolution of how to present it to the workforce. And I believe that really helped out get the engagement that we had, because I was able to say, hey, look, this is an office setting, this is a field setting, this is a random setting, right? And it just kind of helped show that our community isn't just one set of people. It's not just one set of ideas. It's all the industry itself. It fully encompasses what we do as safety in the safety field. So we have office ergonomics, we had insurance people, we had field people, we had construction, we had maritime, we had governmental, we had air and gas. We had so many different fields in one spot that it gives so many more different point of views and perspectives on how we could do something. And I think that's what makes us really unique and really special.
Yeah, for sure.
And another thing, Ben, one of the things I've always liked about the community here and the way that this has been done is that you don't have to be a certified safety professional or a ASP. Yeah. You don't have to be formally in that role. If you're curious about safety or you get put into something from from another spot, because most of us safety folks didn't start out as safety folks, and we get put in a spot. This is a place you can learn from so many people, such a diversity that we have, that you can ask any question you want and you can feel safe to ask it. And if we can keep that, and anybody can come to our safely connect or anything along that lines, we will be doing our job.
Okay. So what I was trying to get at is more industry specific, or because I focus in a lot of times on chemical safety, right? Hazmat teams, other things like that. But I can also do other basic things like emergency preparedness. I do emergency preparedness, emerging threats. There's all kinds of things that, and I'm just wondering, if we go to industry specific type of things, are we going to get enough people to have that interest in that breakout session?
Yeah, I just put in the chat, like when we summarize the feedback that we received, the most mentioned sort of suggestion or topic was, more more speakers, even though we had like 55, and diverse topics. So I think again, keeping it in perspective, but just more industry or cross industry topics and presentations was mentioned a lot of times. So
yeah, and I think, Ben, once you're fully situated in the community, that's a great question to ask to start that conversation and find out who is going to be engaged, right? Because it's not just about the people in the community. There's probably somebody in the community that knows somebody in their peer group that might need assistance in somewhere, and they might just not be in the community at this point, right? So we all know somebody that knows somebody, right? So it doesn't have to be somebody directly in the community, but starting that conversation is the first point in making sure that you figure out how to navigate where your next step is.
Okay.
Well,
Exactly,
what I'd
asking
also
for friends.
add for Ben is that when you get into kind of what you're talking about, that's when maybe setting up a separate webinar would be a good idea. So
Sure.
you can really kind of hone in on the folks that, because you're obviously going to have a handful of people out there that need that information. Might not be as much that are going to attend Safeopedia or the annual event, but you could probably get some folks that would definitely be interested in signing up for your webinar on something very specific.
Okay. Yeah, those are kind of the things that I'm going to be put. They've already. I do some stuff for the Alliance of Hazardous Materials, and that is specific to. So I put in, if you have if you hazmat team, are you prepared? That's kind of the thing. That's kind of one of the things I have to develop still, but I think that's something that would that be something of interest for a call for presentation down the road or a webinar.
Sure. And obviously, we've been doing it more and more, but the community meetups, they're going to be more persistent in 2026. Some of them will be more casual like this one. Some of them, again, are going to be more structured based on who is going to be hosting or guest speaking on that discussion. And yeah, some of them are certainly going to be very specific topics. And I, again, in the community, am going to encourage you attend because it might not be for you, but you might learn something that will give you perspective to bring forward that, yeah, you know what, you've learned something that maybe it is for you, or again, it might be for a friend.
Okay, thanks for the feedback.
Yeah, of course.
the next most commented on topic was the time and length of the sessions, and it's perfect feedback, because it was, some sessions felt rushed and others overlapped with with others, so they went too long. So I don't, we try to recognize that people's attention spans are shorter, that we're trying to get more topics addressed. But it'd be interesting, flush this out while you're on in person with us, whether you felt the 45 minutes was too short for presentations, or if that was adequate length of time.
What about themes? A lot of conferences will have track 1, track 2, track 3. Is it, and trying to find speakers in each track sometimes can be difficult, but if we went down that path, I was sort of saying back to your comment, Ben, it's like, at what point is the conference bleeding into training, full-on training that's super specific, or do you keep it general enough? And Gabe, you've been to enough safety connects, but it's like, do we try and manhandle some themes into the conference, or do you keep it generic and keep it, the easy one is like, oh, leadership and safety culture, and like those are kind of easier to find. Anyone can speak about that and their experience, but how do we really turn it into the practical takeaways that's being talked about?
I think you're right on. That's something that we do at Ohio Safety Congress, and they basically have their own tracks, like you said. So construction track, it might be a general industry track. It may be, another specific, like if you're HR or like you just mentioned. I think that's a great idea. And I think it also, you can put different topics on and people can go to the construction track, for specific things, and then they can go to some others. And I think that's a great idea.
I wonder almost if that's where having the more speakers comment might be coming from, is that if there's more of a range of options, then people can kind of self-select on what they're going to do. Something I've enjoyed over the last few years is that if I see, there could be all sorts of different topics that maybe even when Safety Connect is first introduced, I might not even be that interested in it, and then something just triggers it, and then I want to look into that. The sessions on neurodiversity in the workforce were really fascinating, and I'd say that probably until a few months ago, probably would not have been that interested in looking at it. But then when I saw it, I was just like, okay, I've had a few things happen in my workplace that I thought this is timely, and I'm going to give it a shot and see what happens. And to the time frame, I think that 45 minutes is probably enough to kind of whet your appetite a bit on the topic. And then that's where the discussions in the community kind of go more into that deep dive of finding that more technical aspect of whatever subject was talked about. It's really hard to do a deep dive into anything in 45 minutes, especially just online. But to have that back and forth conversation, that's what I've enjoyed using the community for. And usually it stems from just being part of a session and listening in on something that maybe I didn't expect to attend, and then it turned out to be something really fascinating.
Yeah,
the same thing kind of happened, right? Because I've been fairly resistant to the AI side, and sat in on Sensei's session, and that intrigued me in such a way to where, okay, I probably should dig into this a little bit more and see what's out there. So, the 45-minute thing, that's pretty much a standard. I think we maybe need to do a little bit of a better job in honing our speakers down and saying, hey, we know you have a plethora of information to give us. We need to keep it down to 45 minutes, 50 minutes at a max, and then like Gabe was saying, have those after sessions, groups that we can dig into. And I love what Corey did, because there were so many questions that came up after his presentation. He just sent out the email, what was it, last week, of his responses, right? So, that can be an option as well, something that we have the ability to do more so than like an ASSP or a regional safety thing, right?
Yeah, Mike, I want to touch on that. That's what we're going to be doing this year in particular, more and better than the previous years. We're taking every session and we're going to be moving them into the community, where now, like in the online community platform, you can have those conversations around it. And we're going to be diving into each session itself, pulling out some snippets, some micro content, some main themes, some main questions, the questions that came from the conference. So we can now actually, you know, Samantha, we steal her comment all the time, but it's like, keep that conversation going, but then it's all in one place. So what are the learnings from each session? Because it is easy to just go to a conference, go to the session, and then go home, and you got an inbox full. And
yeah, but we also have that ability too in a situation like this where we have those community meetups, right? Maybe there was one of those sessions that we had in Safety Connect where there was a lot of people who were, you know, interested in it, drove up a lot of conversations. Well, hey, there's a future meetup where we can really hone in and specify into that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to have the women's PPE panel back into the community in 2026. I know we could have spent the entire day having that conversation, and it was very encouraging, not just to have the whole panel there, but to see everybody in the session so engaged with that conversation, because it's not just a women's problem, it's an everybody's problem when it comes to women's PPE and having more diversity in our PPE, not just for women. So I would love to have them back to expand on that discussion. But again, these meetings, these meetups are only an hour. So I again would encourage you, join those sessions that you don't think you need to be a part of. Start those conversations in the community, connect, you know, direct message in the community, keep that conversation going, because like Gabe, like Mike, you're probably gonna see something that you think it's not for me. And the reality is that it is just new perspective. It is a different way to see things and look at things.
I have a curious question. I know, or were you guys able to track the number of attendees per session to see? And I like looking at different themes and see which ones had the most attendance. Did they have the same thing in common? What kind of, like, Mike mentioned AI, and what kind of things we're seeing there, and that could maybe lead us into things that we might want to bring into 2026.
Yeah, we can see all of those things. And obviously, if you haven't filled out the survey, I would encourage you to do that as well. But the feedback that we get from the survey at the end of the conference is, integral information for us to continue to make some shifts, make some changes, adjust the sessions, things like that. And obviously, these meetups are going to continue to be a part of what shapes those conversations. There is a thread in the community right now that was for 2025, but we're, taking those themes and topics to make sure that, if they're still top of mind, we take them into 2026. And if there's any other conversations that need to be had, make sure that we're talking about those too.
One of the other ones that we had, and I think this is a good one for Jenna and Eric to jump in on too, was people are interested in technology and interested in advancements, but case studies kept coming up. So, presenting sort of case studies, rather than a solution, I guess, is an easy way to say it. So I don't know, as as vendors, I mean, you guys are presenting all the time and going to all sorts of different conferences. How does that sound, like breaking down a case study in a session?
We do. We recently did a webinar with a customer and let the customer do the talking, for 20, 25 minutes, which I think might be a valuable way to connect with the folks. So yeah, we could definitely bring that. We could do that in between the years. We could do that sometime early next year as well. I'm sure she'd do it again. But yes, it is a way for people to also not feel like it's some sort of a ephemeral topic, but something that actually lands close to home, because it can be, can be implemented somewhere. I also think on the back of the other topic, panels are really great for topics that are new or controversial or full of bias. And so I think like having an AI panel in the next 3-4 months, I'm biased because I work for a company that is AI first, but I think having different perspectives, because what vendors will do, including myself, is we pick and choose the things we want to say about AI, the skepticism, and we try to be as transparent as possible. But I think ultimately having a panel where different topics come up and people can agree to disagree on certain things, I think is really important in that space.
Jenna, were you going to jump in? I saw you come off mic there for a second.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say about the case studies. That's definitely something that we could do if that's something that your audience has communicated that would resonate more with them. That's pretty easy to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, I mean, the meetups that we do, we get some, folks on the calls that have been with us since the beginning that are probably a little bit more senior in their roles, but we do get that feedback that people are trying to figure out how to get management buy-in, how to get company to invest. And I think I'm reading between the lines a little bit with the case study comments is that they're looking for a business case that they can take back to their organization when they see something of interest. And Jenna, I know there's lots of AI questions, Eric, that we'll get to, but Jenna, I know in the shoebox case, a lot of people were skeptical about the OSHA requirements, right, for the quiet room, which you guys have solved, but it was discussed afterwards rather than being part of that initial presentation. So like a case study obviously would help put people at ease when it comes to new solutions, new technologies.
Yeah, that was something that I wanted to bring up was there wasn't really a lot of Q&A after our session, and then there was all this discussion after, but it wasn't really brought up during the Q&A. So I'm not sure if there's a better way for us to be part of those conversations if it's not getting brought up during the Q&A.
Yeah,
sure. That's the community. That's where if those conversations are going on inside, I think that's a perfect spot. And I think, like Scott, you're saying case studies, but Eric, you kind of hit the nail on the head. Bring a customer to and that gets us into the time of how much time do we give for presentations and product showcase, because that's why the product showcase was invented. Was in like year 2, everyone said like, hey, where's all the vendors at this conference? Where are they? So you want to get in there and show and sell a product, but it sure is nice when it's a customer saying, oh yeah, we had the quiet room question too, but boom, solved, and you tick the box. So
yeah, I think to Jenna's comment about the follow-up conversations, I know for me, it takes me a little while to kind of process what I'm hearing and what I'm going through, and then and of course with a virtual conference, like juggling all this stuff, it might not be until another couple of days before I even come back and like, oh, okay, well, I had that question. And usually what I've done is go back to the session, the recording of it, and then it'll jog my memory on a couple things, and then that's when I'll even jump into the community and just throw this question out, and just, hey, anybody hear about this, or I was listening to this comment, what did anybody think about that? And try to see what happens in that area. I think the other piece of that too, related to the case studies, is that with a lot of these conferences, and many of us have been doing this for some time and have been to conferences in general, a lot of the topics we've heard before. There's some things, of course, that are new, but at the same time, what we're really interested in is how does this work in real life? How has someone actually deployed these things? I don't care if it's about AI or if it's about getting management buy-in on a purchase, or building safety culture, or any of those foundational principles. How does it work in real life? Like, what did you do? Tell me your success stories, because maybe there's something I can implement that will make it work in my organization too.
Yeah. And I think people look at Safety Connect and they're like 3 days, and it's what, 8 hours a day? I don't know. But you look at it and you go, that's so long. But Safety Connect, the schedule is so tight that those 3 days, you blink, they're done. So yes, it's an information overload and it's really exciting. You're having those conversations and you're really excited to talk about some things and you're still digesting other things. So it's typically that Friday morning, that morning after, when you start to come down from the high of Safety Connect and you start missing Safety Connect, you start missing the lounge, that you really start diving in and reflecting. And then, over the weekend, you're having those conversations on LinkedIn and hopefully in the community where you're starting to really go back, look at the on demand, dive in a little bit deeper. So I know Safety Connect looks long and it looks like it's this big 3-day event, but it goes by so quick.
So I have another question. I know that it's 3 days. I know a lot of people will attend the 3 days and come back, but how many people would you say that have attended this are going back and looking at the on-demand sessions? It's now been a couple of weeks. Are you getting what kind of a percentage are you getting back that are going back and say, "Oh, I missed this session and I'm going back now. I'm going to go look at this one," and sit through the whole thing?
Yeah, it's a lot. I'd have to go and look at the actual data, but a lot of people go back. Or Tucker, you just said it. Other than Tucker,
Jamie, I think
a
you're
lot
muted.
of people, a lot of people are going back.
Or maybe
So
it's
you are getting a good percentage then coming back and looking at that's good because like you said, the 3-day session, a lot of people that, they may attend something and then they just forget about it.
Yeah. That's why we want to try and move it into the community to keep that conversation happening and the questions, and instead of just watching and being on an island by yourself.
Yeah, I know for me personally, since I'm a big podcast listener, so adding this to my queue is usually it's just become a habit. So I do go back quite a bit to the prior sessions.
Which is where I guess it comes in nice that it's only 45 minutes, hey?
Exactly.
Well, and maybe a question for attendees, Shoebox and Field First, were their first time at Safety Connect. Did everybody get a chance to see what they were talking about and learn a little bit about our new partners? Or is this a session you need to go back and watch?
Everybody's thinking about it.
Everybody's thinking about it.
Yeah.
I thought my face would just be memorable enough, but apparently.
Because on that note, there were a lot of comments about AI and technology focus and request again specific case studies, success stories, and customer testimonial or customer involvement in those presentations. So definitely, obviously, AI is a big topic globally, but was one of the areas that people talked about a lot in the comments, and then data-driven solutions as well. So I think that Shoebox fits into that nicely.
So I have another quick question because of other things that are going on. AI is a really hot topic. Are we using any kind of VRs at all? Because there's a lot of, I know that a long time ago, even AI was out there, but probably about 10 years ago, I watched some VR things that they did in construction. One is the thing about fall protection, where they actually had to put their fall protection on and you had your VR glasses, and if you didn't put it on properly, you walked out of the plank and then you fell and it actually felt like you were actually falling. So you watch these people's faces when they have their VR glasses on. It's really, is that being done, some stuff like that as far
yeah.
as virtual reality training and AI?
I've used a lot of VR training, especially when I worked at the government, for sandblasters, painters, metallizers, cleaners, fall protection. Welders are now starting to use VR with haptic feedback gloves to see if they make the weld the right way. There's a lot of opportunity for virtual reality to really
Right.
push into the markets, and it has started. Like the last 10 years have really kind of been a real big boom on that. But coming up in the next 2-3 years, we're really going to see the evolution of that with haptic feedback. Like you said, it feels like you're falling because of the way that your brain perceives it. But there's actual suits that are now being developed where you have to walk on rollers, and it feels like you're really walking out on onto a shipyard. It feels like you're walking to an edge. It feels like you're on a leaning edge. It feels like you're on scaffolding. So a lot of that new technology is going to start coming out in the next 2 years. But the hard part is going to be that it's going to be cost prohibitive. But a lot of companies that I've talked to recently are going to be offering leasing programs or rental programs for them. So it's going to be a really cool industry change that we're going to be coming through soon.
You're right about the cost. That's one of the things that when they were showing this, I don't know, probably, I mean, I've seen multiple presentations, probably 8, 9 years ago, and it was, it was so expensive. It was like $80,000 subscription, and then you had to buy the equipment, and companies just were turned off of that. So I don't know, with new technologies, is that something that, you know, down the road, is it can a small mom and pop business
Oh yeah,
support that?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Like if you look at take TrueVerb for instance, they make video games. They make VR video games that the rig itself costs $1,500 to start off with, and then about $30 a month for the support systems. So they actually have a construction one coming up for I believe it's for I want to say confined space, and they're working with a robotic company that makes robotic sniffers. I
Mhm.
can't remember exactly if it was confined space or not, but I can find out for you. Uh, and that itself is only going to be about $2,800 for a rig and 50-60 bucks a month for the support side of it. So it's going to be very affordable in certain situations, just because the technology is there and it's so rampant that it's going to be available. But you're first going to get into like the bigger rigs, like the full sandblasting or the full painting one. That's going to be a lot more cost prohibitive because it needs more room. It takes a lot more power. There's a lot more nuance to it, a lot more hands-on to it. But of course, the complexity is going to be where the cost comes from. But simple things like just leaning edges, walking working surfaces, fall protection, something as
Yeah, that's
easy as
scaffolds.
like
I've
scaffold.
seen all
Yeah,
the, yeah.
it's going to be pretty cost available for a lot of people, especially if they do rental rigs. Like I know that there's a rental rig coming up for fall protection. It's like $250 to rent for 2 hours. So if you got a crew of 10, that's a good cost.
Okay.
To kind of get back on the message of this meeting, at least the way I see it, I was limited this year as to my availability to attend Safety Connect. So when I was able to jump on for 30 minutes or an hour or maybe an hour and a half here or there, it was always nice to be able to say, okay, I can get on this one live, or I can go backwards and look at what was already discussed, and you can look at the chat and see what was discussed on the sidebar. So again, that I think is something we need to keep available moving forward.
I'd say that the chat on any of these sessions is like watching a session in and of itself. It is amazing.
Yeah, you were a prime candidate and contributor to many of those, Gabe.
I don't know what you're talking
I giggled out loud at a few of
about. That's one of the most, I mean, all kidding aside, that's one of my favorite things about Safety Connect is the ability to interact in so many different ways. I mean, you can just even looking at this group right here, I mean, you can be on video, you can just be on audio, you can go through the chat, all this stuff. And I think as someone that's presented at Safety Connect before, I think it's really fascinating to go back and look at the notes. to interact with people in real time during the sessions. And then even afterwards, I like to kind of follow up and see, okay, what was talked about, and as you were talking about before, what were people's comments on there? Maybe something got brought up that I didn't expect, or I was also thinking the same thing and didn't feel like I could ask the question, but somebody else was my out loud voice and got to do it. So it's just so many different ways to interact. And I think for any exhibitors or sponsors that are a part of it, you kind of have to shift your mindset a little bit and how to interact with this group on this forum, because it's like time and space don't really have meaning when you're in Safety Connect.
I was going to ask the same thing. Like Eric and Jenny, you've been probably to numerous conferences. From a sponsor perspective, what do you feel worked well? Gabe mentioned the chat. We've had some sponsors that blew up in the chat, almost ignored their presentation and went full on interactive from the chat. What do you guys, do you have any ideas or suggestions on what Safety Connect can do to better accommodate sponsors somehow, or keep doing this or stop doing or do more of? What, you guys have any ideas?
Well, based on what I know about the chat, I'm glad you can't see it as a presenter. It's extremely disorienting. And it does also feel like, and I don't think this the wrong way, but it feels very, there's like a very insular connective tissue that I think, like a lot of inside jokes that are fine, but the culture is very tight knit. And as a vendor, it feels very outsidery. It's like hard, feels like hard to penetrate that. And so maybe structured breakout sessions, would be a really good way to have smaller group interactions and start to like really feel like you can make some headway in there. I mean, in terms of like the tools and the style, I mean, I think the capabilities for this virtual event, I think far exceeded my expectations, honestly, in terms of the platform and the organization. So I thought that was really good. And then the product showcase, I think I shared with you guys yesterday. I think it's a great forum, but just like be mindful of like where you position vendors get with each other, because nobody wants to see 3 software vendors talk about roughly the same things in different ways right in a row. So maybe finding ways to structure different vendors, different categories like next to each other. So give everybody some variability.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. That's a good comment about we feel it even in the community meetups with the tight knit. There's a lot of the same voices, and it is tough to, you go to a party and you're the new person, or that kind of thing.
Yeah,
that is tough. I'm glad you said that.
Like I'm not a sad puppy. I mean, I've been on the inside of those cultures too, right? I get it, but yeah, I think it's better if we can find a way to break into those a little bit more, and not just for vendors. I think for anybody who wants to attend new, have really structured ways to do it. Breakout groups where maybe a session during the day where you have like 4 topics and one of you guys moderates each breakout group, and then people just choose during the meeting which one they attend.
Yeah, we did that last
sort of
year. We had the structured breakout rooms because there is a way in the platform to direct video conference each other and have breakout rooms within the conference outside of sessions. We also did have the pre-Safety Connect meetup to force people to get into different breakout groups and get to know each other and have those conversations. I don't think I've ever been in a breakout room with the same people, maybe once or twice. So we really do try to encourage when we have those breakout rooms, that it's diverse, that it's a new face, we're getting to know each other. So that's why we do the pre-Safety Connect stuff, and we're really encouraging those conversations in the community. Gabe and we've been really trying to amp up the Safety Connect lore in the community, just so that you do understand the inside jokes. They happen every year. There's always something weird that comes from Safety Connect. We don't plan it. It just happens. We don't know why. But we're really working on, you know, being a little more inclusive and trying to explain the last 6 years of the safety nonsense.
It's a challenge. For sure.
It is a challenge. I like the breakout rooms idea more. What about, you know, in hosting the conference, we always find ourselves up against, it's funny, we'll put all the sessions, you know, back to back, and then we'll realize, oh my God, there's like 2 minutes between each session or 5, and there's no breaks and there's no lunch and there's no, you know, it's online. But what about, and we've got our networking and then we've had our trivia. What about more, like maybe along the lines of your idea, Eric? What about more topics or like networking things, networking, what do you call it, sessions maybe, but with specific topics. So yeah, whatever that means, if it's construction or whatever, AI, can you go into those sessions, but they're more networking and discussion, moderated? Like, would that make sense to add that flavor?
Didn't we have that a couple of years ago when we did the Safety Connect happy hours after each day? And was presented with a vendor each day, right? Like 3 years ago?
Sort of. Was that when we had like speaker's corner kind of thing, Jonathan? Maybe.
Kind of. I think it was like maybe 3 or 4 years ago. We had vendors that would say, "Hey, we're gonna do a breakout room after Safety Connect, and it's gonna be like safety happy hour." But I don't know if that was like on their own they did that, or if that was part of you guys doing it.
I think it would also be beneficial that at the start of each day, we do some sort of networking, right? We're already doing the coffee in the ergo moment. There's a welcome. Maybe we really shrink Jamie and Scott's welcome speech down, and we add in an opportunity to network before the keynote, right? So that when you see Christy in the chat, you're like, oh, I just had a conversation with Christy, and they're all going to be at the keynote because no one's competing with the keynote. So we have a little bit of a we stretch, we have our coffee, but we also force you to connect with each other before we jump into the keynote. We yank Jamie and Scott off stage really early, and then we make sure that we give everybody the opportunity. Yeah, exactly. Yes, thank you, Gabe.
Well, we gotta get off early.
I'm getting fired.
We don't even need to be on. We don't even need a stage at all.
Yeah, just a wave and a welcome in.
I think the idea is, like you asked about conferences and we present all the time and all this stuff. The one thing that is hard to replicate is it's lunchtime. Everybody, there's a bunch of tables and you can just go sit at one. And so like you could have some networking sessions that are just like moderated topics, and you can have some where it's a network session. Everybody that's in Zoom, I think you can break them out and just say, put in groups of 10 and it's lunchtime. And it's just like a small group conversation. Everybody introduces themselves. Now it's not, some introverts may have a hard time. Maybe with 10 people it won't be as bad. I'm an extroverted introvert, my wife says, because she's extremely introverted, so she thinks I'm an extrovert, but it's not entirely true. But ways to mimic that type, because that's really incredibly valuable for people on the outside to feel like they're at a home, is to just get to know, right, to start to form their own group. Like, oh, I know these 10 people now. Because quite frankly, the only people I know here are Samantha, Jamie, and Scott.
I love that idea. I think that's great. I mean, another, community type of event, that you probably won't get going to an in-person conference.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we used to have the lounge, like on that commentary, we used to have the lounge, it was the Safety Justice League lounge at the time, and it was always running. It was a Zoom meeting that was running during the sessions, and we had to pivot. Everyone loved it, like everybody loved it, except we had to pivot because people were hanging out in the lounge and not going to the session. So we sort of pivoted, but kind of what you're saying is let's have forced. The difference here is let's have maybe some forced lounge lunch time, but keep the breakout rooms kind of rotating and maybe allow people to go to different tables, you know, I think that's a valuable, maybe every 15 minutes you rotate the tables. I don't know what you do. Zoom can do some cool, like automatic.
Or you just have 2 15-minute sessions every day to do that. And you have 4 over the course of 2 days. And you just sprinkle them in. You know, it doesn't have to be a whole hour with breakouts or 45 minutes, just short and brief. And if 30 people show up and you have 4 breakout rooms, no big deal. It's just, I think it's an opportunity to sort of build some strength in numbers, which I think will ultimately help grow the Safeopedia community, you know, by sort of expanding that.
Yeah, I think too.
I'd love to be an insider. I would read the book. Somebody write an ebook about the Safeopedia inside culture, the Safety Connect inside culture. Write the book. I'll read the ebook.
Sure.
Gabe, that's your job.
Noted.
The curse of the all-day lounge was the same issue Eric brought up, was that it was the same voices, the same people in the all-day lounge, right? So, you know, we did pivot away from that because as entertaining as it was and, you know, opened up to be, the reality is that between sessions or during sessions, it was people were missing those sessions because they were yapping in the lounge and doing jokes, and rather than committing to why they showed up to the conference. So I do think nice, short, sweet little breakout rooms make a little bit more sense. Gabe, you're guilty.
Let me throw something into that mix, and I don't know if I'm going to totally shoot myself in the foot on this one. But so to your comment, Eric, I think one of the things that I've really enjoyed in any conference, regardless of whether it was in person or virtual, is those meetings between the meetings. When you're going between sessions, stuff like that. And I mean, Jonathan, I'm going to out us on this one. There was an entire side chat that was going on, a group chat with a whole bunch of people at Safety Connect. And we did end up finding a room that was within the platform. And I'm trying to remember who the vendor was that was in there that also stumbled on it, but ended up talking business half the time. I was in there, and then we still
caught sessions.
Say again?
We still caught sessions.
Yeah, we still talked to sessions and everything, which is really funny. And I can see how that would go sideways quick. But even just having a room that was available, and then, you know, I'd get a text from somebody saying like, "Hey, I'm in the room." It's like, okay, cool. And then we all jump in.
Well, what about just opening during the mid-session? Like when the session ends, just open up the room for the 5-10 minutes of the intermission, and then re-close it when the sessions are starting.
Yeah,
like a hall pass during school. Walk in the hallways.
Passing period.
Speaking of 5 minutes, there's about 5 minutes left. So if you got something to say, now is your chance. Make sure that your voice is heard. I will use this brief time to let you know that there is another community meetup coming in December on the 11th. More information for that will come. It is obviously far more relaxed than this because it's, you know, the year-end party, the holiday party. I'd say bring your holiday cheer, but it is a Thursday in the middle of the day, so I don't recommend that. Whatever is holiday cheer adjacent, bring that. I won't tell, but you all work in the safety industry, so be mindful.
Gabe will provide recipes.
Great.
I do want to throw it out there. I'm available for next year, so let me know.
Perfect.
Did we? Eric shared a bit of feedback, but Jenna, I wasn't sure if you guys had a different product, different solution. If you had any kind of feedback for the group to comment on.
Yeah, I think similar to Eric, I think what's missing is a little bit more engagement with the attendees. So unless they came to my virtual booth and sent me a message, other than them listening to us present, we didn't really have any back and forth, which is really what conferences are all about and the major value. So I love that Eric actually came with like actionable suggestions for it, whereas I'm just coming with a little bit of a not a complaint, but that was the one thing that it would be good to work on. Yeah. And I love the idea of breakout sessions. I think for some of us vendors with a solution that's a little bit more I mean, hearing conservation isn't niche, but not everybody needs it. That would be the one thing that I'd love to be in a room with other people who specifically do have a hearing conservation program so that we could talk about it. If I'm in a room with 10 people who don't, then it's always nice to meet people, but it doesn't really help me as a vendor.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I like the breakout idea.
Yeah.
Specifically, maybe it's speakers and vendors, but having a place, right, where the vendor has a talk, you can go and have now a side talk, and because the next vendor's on, and it may detract from the next vendor, but if we're better, as Eric said, not having 3 hearing conservation vendors back to back, then we can, it's like, might be a software where it's like, we have our software, we're good. I want to ask Jenna some questions about hearing, and then they can break out, because that's the time, right? If people are interested in your product or your whatever your service is, then it's like right now, get into a breakout room and ask those questions that you have, instead of time running out, and then it's like,
there's times at a conference where it's expo time, right? Everybody's on the floor.
Yeah, expo
And
time,
it's just not, so there's just not, that doesn't exist.
Well, what I heard was that Safety Connect 2026 needs to be 8 days long. That's what I heard.
I'm busy then.
Yeah.
8 days long, 8 days long at half the price, right? Half the price. 8 days long.
If it goes 8 days long, I'm coming down to Costa Rica.
Yeah. Come on down, Mike. I got a place for you.
It's the beach.
Yeah, the beach. Well, I have a wheel. If anyone wants to spin a wheel to finish off. Or no, we don't have to spin
the wheel.
The wheel.
What do you figure, Scott? Do we have anything?
I was gonna say, what do you have on this wheel?
Yeah, what do you have?
I have names on the wheel.
Oh, okay.
Names
So
and
you
numbers.
get a new name?
There could be what, a Safety Connect polo. I don't know. Does anyone have anything that
the infamous orange polo?
Oh, jeez.
Okay, I like that. High vis Edmonton Oiler orange polo.
Oh, so by the way, sorry about your Blue Jays.
Oh, thanks, Mike. That was
hey, I could have gone either way. The Mets weren't in the picture, so I could have gone either way, but yeah.
No one wanted the Dodgers. Not even Gabe wanted the Dodgers.
Yeah, the only reason why I like the Dodgers winning is that Panda Express gives away orange chicken whenever they win. So
Fantastic.
yeah, my sports fandom is wildly conditional on how much food I can get.
Fantastic.
Of course it is. Okay, tell me if I've got the right.
You're sharing nothing, so maybe.
Hold on, everyone just.
Okay, there you go.
Okay. Everyone sees their number?
Sure.
That's a self inside joke that no one else knows. Sorry, last thing. I do have to make sure I'm playing the right music. I didn't check.
You don't want dueling wheels just for fun?
I think that's the right song. Okay, here we go. Good luck. Orange polo in your size. Wow. Can you hear that? No.
We hear it.
Why do I feel like I'm at a high school football game?
Something failed.
We hear it. It's spinning. Okay.
Yeah, something was going on there. I don't know. Let's try that again. All right, someone's gonna win.
It was marginally better.
Well, not here. I couldn't hear anything. Christy.
Hey, congratulations.
Yay!
Congratulations, Christy. That's like share.
Thank you. Because
wow.
I wanted the orange polo. So yay.
Ooh, well, you got it. Dreams come true at Safety
Yes,
Connect.
it's the colors of our my work too, so it totally works. I can be for Tennessee and for Maverick all at the same time.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And Christy, what's your last name?
Britain.
Yep, got it. Christy B.
Yes.
Cool. Okay, right on. Congratulations. We'll send you
Thank you very much.
We'll send you the form. You just fill out a form with your address and stuff just to pick the right size and all that stuff, and
Go from there.
there you go.
All right,
That
everyone.
will work.
Well, congratulations to Christy and thank you all for being here today. It is your passion and dedication and collaboration to helping each other and sharing your knowledge and driving safety forward that keeps Safety Connect going, keeps our community growing. So thank you again for being here and we'll see you on the next one.
Yeah, thanks Jenna and Eric for
Thanks,
joining.
everyone.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Thank
Hey,
you.
happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Brian.
Canda's already had their Thanksgiving, so.
That's right. Bye, guys.